The webPOLL plugin for SiteProgress allows you to create survey or poll questions and then place them on any page across your website. Let's go ahead and build a poll to show you how this works. The first thing we need to do is create an internal reference name for the poll, and we'll call this poll colors. And then we need to ask our poll question. So I'm going to say, what is your favorite color? Now you have up to 8 possible responses that you can fill out for any question. You don't have to use them all, but you do have as many as 8. So I'm going to start putting in some possible answers, which will be different colors. Okay, in this case I went ahead and used all 8. So now we have the 8 possible responses, and now we need to set the color for the response bar when we see the results of the poll. By default it's set to white, and so we might want to just make all of the bar colors the same color, and to do that we just click into the box and select a color from our color wheel, and let's say we're going to use a blue, and then I can copy that color code and start pasting it into the other boxes to get all of the bar colors to be the same blue. However, you might want to have different colors for every bar, and in fact, since this is a question about colors, it might be nice to have each bar be the color that's associated with the answer. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll just set up these all real quick. Leave that blue there, yellow. Okay, for a brown, we're going to have to pick a color like this and then bring down the hue a little bit like that to create a brown. Orange, and then for black we can bring this down all the way and get our black. Okay, so there are all of our colors that are associated with those answers. So we've got that set. Okay, let's move down to selection options and let me explain to you what that is. Basically, it's the input options for the user once they answer a question or once they're looking at the poll. The default is what's called Submit View. And what that means is there are 2 buttons at the bottom of the poll. One is called Submit and the other is called View. The Submit button is what they click after they've selected an answer and want to submit it. But the View button will allow them to look at the results of the poll without submitting an answer, so they can see what everybody else has done without necessarily giving an answer. So that's the first option. The next option is just called Submit, and that basically just takes away that View option. So in other words, in order to see the results, you have to provide an answer and hit the Submit button. The final option does not allow the user to see the results at all. All they can do is submit their response, and then since they don't see results, you probably want to give them some sort of a message like thank you for your time or thank you for participating. And you can do that right here in this no view message box. So those are the options you have there. We're going to go ahead and just leave this at the default for now. Moving down, the result details, basically what that is when you do view the results, along with the bar, you're given hard numbers to how many votes each answer has received, as well as a percentage that represents. When you hide details, basically you hide the core numbers, the number of votes for each item and the total number of votes from the user, so they don't basically have an idea of how many people have participated in the survey. So again, we'll leave it at show for now. Now the window area is important, and what this is this is defining the area of space that the poll needs to take up on the page you're going to put it on. You may have to go back and forth once or twice as you fit the poll into your page based on the individual circumstances of how you've got your page laid out. But for now, we'll just go ahead and put in 300 by 200 in pixel width and height and see how that fits with the page. The last item here is limit entries, and what that allows you to do is if you leave it at the default of yes, that means that someone can only vote once on that poll question. If they go back and view it or try to refresh the page, it will not allow them to vote more than once. Now actually what's happening here, so you know from a technical perspective, is cookies being placed on their browser that limits them from doing that, and that cookie expires in a 30-day period of time. So that means that they technically can't answer the question for 30 days. However, if they're smart enough to figure that out and can go in and know how to delete a cookie from the browser, they could vote multiple times, just so you know that that is a possibility. Okay, so we've got all of our parameters set, and I'm going to go ahead and save this poll. And when I do, it will now come down here in our poll list, and here it is with our name and our question and all of the parameters that we set up. And the very last thing is what's called a poll code, which is generated by SiteProgress. And each poll code is unique if you have multiple polls. So we need this poll number in order to use that to embed it in the page that we want to put it on our website. So I'm going to just highlight the whole thing, poll equals, in this case, JT6, and I'm going to copy that information. Now, let me just show you the page we're going to put it on. This is a little sample page, and I'm just going to put this poll right here between these two pieces of text. So I need to go to the How It Works page, which is what this page is. So I'll go to that in our admin, and I'll go to the main text area, which is where I want to put this, and I'll find that same space, which is right there. I'll do a couple shift carriage returns to open it up a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and paste in that poll code right there, and that's it. That tells SiteProgress to put that poll right there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save for that. And now if I go over to the web page and I hit refresh, we will see the poll appear inside of the page. Now you might notice that not all of the colors are there, and neither are our submit and view buttons. And that's because when we defined the window area, we didn't make it tall enough or high enough. So that's what I was talking about having to go back and forth maybe once or twice as you're setting up your poll to get it exactly right for the given situation on your page. So let's just make that fix real quick. We do that by going back to plugins and selecting webPOLL. And then we come down here to the poll that we're working on, and we go ahead and hit the edit button, which will bring it back up here. So here's our window area, and the height we had set at 200, and we know that's not high enough. So let's go ahead and add 100 pixels to it and make it 300. And now we're going to save the changes. But before we do, I want to make sure to talk about this important note that we have here. When you make changes to a poll after you've saved it the first time, it will zero out any data, any entries that have happened on that poll. So it's important that you get your poll right and get it all set up. But once you start actually taking responses from your site visitors, you don't want to make changes to a poll at that point because it will clear out your data. So unless you want to download that data or copy and paste it into something so you have it, then you can make a change. But it's important to remember that saving changes in the poll resets the poll. So at this point it doesn't matter because we haven't taken any information, so I'm going to go ahead and hit save changes, and we'll see if that solves our problem here. I'll refresh the page, and now sure enough we've got all the colors and our submit and view buttons, so we're good to go. So let me answer the poll a couple of times, and well, I can only answer it once because we've actually got it set to a limit. So let's go back and change that actually, now that I thought of that. So the way we would do that is we come over here and again hit edit and bring the poll up, and we're going to go limit entries no, meaning I can vote as many times as I want. So I'm going to save those changes, and now we'll go back to the poll. So I can vote several times now, just to show you how the view part of it works. So I'll start answering the questions. And so I'll go submit, and here we'll see the first response. Again, here are these numbers that we were talking about. And so I'll go back, since I can vote more than once, and I'll just start voting several times just so you can kind of see how this works and how it starts to give you the data. I'll do a few more. Do one down here, and let's do one more blue. And look at it that way. Now, again, since we had select view chosen as the option for viewing, I could just select view without voting and see these results without it adding to the tally of any of those. So there you have that. Now let me point out a couple other things when we go back to the admin and talk about result details that show or hide. If I go back and look at that, those numbers are right here, what I'm talking about, these hard numbers of actual votes and also the total number of votes. That would go away if you hid that option. So the person would just see these color bars and they would see a percentage, but they wouldn't know what that correlated to in terms of actual numbers. Okay, so that's how we set up a poll. One other thing I want to show you is you can always look at your results of your poll, of course, on your actual web page, but also you can look at them here in the admin, and that's particularly useful if you have a poll where you have no view. For instance, if you have a poll where you don't want people to know what people are responding, you would use this option, so then you couldn't see it on the web page either. So you can go down here to your poll and hit results, and now we can see the results of the poll here on the backend admin. Here's our question, all the possible responses, the total number of entries, and how that breaks out there. So that's webPOLL. If you have any questions about webPOLL, feel free to send us an email at support@siteprogress.com.